having 20% generation, 20% culture, having grown there, will improve upon on that, and the next generation will attain 40% of that generation and 60% of the older generation. Like this, at one point of time, there will be only this generation. You understood? This culture. And this culture, again when it shifts to another, the same cycle takes place. You understood? How we have become unaware of total spirituality and living only in the dark world of the materialism is because of these changes taking place. Is how we travelled from Satya Yuga to Kali Yuga. You got my point? Is it not right? Even living in the same house, same this one, different people have different culture. We still identify people as different. Yes. We still have lot of misconceptions. We are talking ourselves as very cultured, developed world, we call it. What we call it, Kali Yuga? Developed world. Whereas the spiritual world, I have told, the most worst part of it, where you can experience all sorts of things. They are also telling it is good. It is, but they have never said it is developed world. They said where you can develop yourself, because wherever there is a scope to develop only, you can create a developing world. You know, in a developed world, you cannot develop anymore. Can you? So why the science told, why the spiritual science told that getting a birth in Kali Yuga is worth, because you can experience all odds, because this is the only Yuga where you can experience all these things. In no other Yuga you can experience it, because they are all developed. So the most underdeveloped Yuga is where you can experience everything. Is why they said that taking birth in Kali Yuga is the best, because under all situations you can prove your capabilities. See, under tough conditions only you know your efficiency. Living happily in a wealthy family and everything is there, and you say that I am living very nice, I am struggling, it's of no value. One should start with nothing. Then he should prove his worth of living. Then he can say I have lived like this. It's not then only. That facility is available here, is why experience in Kali Yuga is the best. Sorry. Shakti, why God has created this world, okay. We call it as God has created. It's not the God created, it's an evolution has taken place. Because of the evolution it has taken place. Because of our thinking it has taken place. God has never told you to think bad. When you were born as a child, did Bhagwan fill your thought with bad things? Why are you blaming the God then? You were born with absolutely a clean slate. You were born with absolutely all capabilities of absorbing everything. But we always blame that this is happening because you have acquired it. Now this is that basis of the Kali Yuga. Now why did I say Kali Yuga? To experience. I said, that's the purpose of my telling. To experience why the material world has been separately given to us. Why? You said, I myself asked a question now, that why Bhagwan created Maya? Yes. Why Bhagwan created Shakti? Why Bhagwan created Maya? Because in staying in Bhagwan, one cannot experience all those. Which are those? Those which is known as the love, bhakti, jnanam, sacrifice, sufferings, vairagya, satisfaction, praying for others, living for others, thinking, learning of the Vedic science, learning of spiritual science, learning of the material science. From there promote yourself from one to the other, using your own capabilities using your own discretions and discriminations, using your own intelligence, intellect and the jnanam, utilizing all this, transform yourself from this to the other, is why this world is created. Plus, one has to identify the experience of death. The experience of death in the sense, the experience of the destruction of that which has been created has to happen. When you understand all this, your jnanam is complete. In order to complete this jnanam, you have to live in this world, is why the material world has been projected, the Shakti has been projected. When the Shakti has been projected, Maya has been projected, living in the Ishvara, living in the Ishvaratva, in a Maharshi, in a Tapasvi, in a Jnani, in a great evolved person, he doesn't understand love, he doesn't understand sufferings, he doesn't understand bhakti, he doesn't recognize death, he doesn't recognize birth, he doesn't pray, he doesn't have others, the word called others, everything is one. He doesn't have any word called others. He doesn't pray for others. He doesn't live for others. And nobody lives for him. No, neither he understands that he is living for others, but he lives for him. But these principles could be established in that tapasvi only after living in all this. Is why Bhagavan has projected this Maya world. Because living in the Ishvara, none of them are required. Even Jnanam is not required. And existence is the embodiment of Jnanam. There, one function, only one function, that projection of Jnanam, Daya, Karuna. No other activities in that. You understand? Now all these activities of the Maya, which is an inherent. Now don't tell me then why this has to be experienced. That itself is good enough. But in order to gain that, you should have fulfilling all this, because that is an end result of that is the juice, of all the pulp that you have ground and removed and taken the rasa of all this. When you taken the rasa of all this, you created that jnanam and karuna and daya and the projection of them to the others, because they do not consume themselves. That the juice doesn't consume the juice by itself. It is made for others. That made for others, this jnanam, that embodiment of the godliness, in that embodiment of godliness has been created based on the rasa of all these things. If this rasa is not there, that could not be achieved. So in order to make the jivatma, that projections, whatever comes from the Ishvaratva, when it is projected, when it is projecting the light of the Atma, what happens? Depending, as I told you some time back, for a purpose of explanation, when the ray of the Jnanam is extended from the Ishvara, when the ray gradually travel from 0 to 1000 or 10,000 kilometers, the intensity of the Ishvaratva here and the intensity of the Ishvaratva, I am just telling you mechanically, okay? Don't take it as an Upanishadic word, of course. It's only trying to make you physically understand. Suppose a ray is projected from here to 10,000 kilometers, the intensity of the Ishvaratva at the beginning point and the intensity of the Ishvaratva at the end point can be different, like a temperature. Sun ray can be easily borne by our skin and body when we are on the earth. But when you travel closer towards the sun, you will burn, because the temperature grows high there. The same ray that is projected when it has passed through so many, the atmosphere, the radiation has taken place, more of radiation has taken place, so the intensity of the ray, the heat of the ray has reduced, so you don't burn. Same way, something like that, when number of generations, here it is a distance that matters, in this case where the sun and sun ray. Whereas I am talking about the projection that has been created from the Ishvara, the distance is that number of generations or number of yugas when it took place, or number of yugas taken place in the Jivatma, when the distance has